Alright, I'm just going to make a quick little test video here, kind of a vlog, out here at little park with my dog, Dutch. He's not interested in video making, so I don't know if I'll post this. Kind of a shaky camera situation using the front-facing camera on my Pixel 1. Because it was a good deal and it's a good camera on the other side, but we're going to try this out. I wanted to talk today a little bit about rum. The sun is just really bright today, so we'll see how we do with this. So rum. I'm going to start off by talking about this huge controversy with rum. And if you are a member of rum-loving Facebook groups or Reddit groups, there's a big debate. And what happens is there's this toxic fight going on, and I see both sides, and I don't know how I feel 100% about it. So I'm going to lay that out. So first of all, if you go onto one of these Facebook groups and you say, oh man, I really love this rum, and it could be anything. Some companies are notorious in this situation. And you say, oh man, this is my favorite rum. Has anybody tried this? I love this. You'll get like basically attacked by the hate mongers, the sugar hate mongers, and they'll call you all sorts of names, and they'll get all up in arms that you can't possibly like that kind of rum because this company adds sugar post-production to the rum. Now on the surface, I get it. I don't need extra sugar in my diet. I'm overweight, and sugar is just a culprit, I think, in our society for bad diets. So sugar's bad. Some rum companies add a little sugar post-production for a variety of reasons. I think that there's varying degrees of this, from a little sugar to round out and balance the flavor, to enormous amounts of sugar in something like a Captain Morgan spiced rum, or obviously like Malibu, or some of these, some rums out there are really more liqueurs than rums in my estimation. A lot of the argument also comes down to honesty and transparency, because some of the rum companies, they add the sugar and they don't say anything about it. It's not like, hey, this is rum plus a little sugar, so we added it because we know you like it sweet, and that's what we're doing. I think in some cases, like in Malibu, I mean, if you don't think that, they don't need to say anything, because there's obviously a ton of sugar in that rum, and lots of others that will remain nameless at this point because it's not really the issue. And then there's others. Plantation, one of my favorite rum brands. I love everything they make. It all tastes really good, and they don't put it on the bottle, but if you talk to them, they will tell you that they do add a little sugar. During the aging process, they think that the flavor of the sugar changes the way the rum ages, and the way the sugar flavor changes in the aging process. So they add a little dosage to the barrels, and to be honest, everything they make tastes amazing, and very few of their rums to me taste sweet. I think the original dark at 80 proof tastes pretty sweet. It's delicious, tastes pretty sweet, but most of their other rums are actually quite dry. And I know that there's some sugar added, but it's got to be in fairly small amounts. And I'm not going to talk numbers, I'm not going to argue numbers, but I do love Plantation. And this is one of those things that will get you harassed, will get you yelled at in some of these online forums, and I understand why. Like I said, I don't need extra sugar in my diet, especially since I'm I'm drinking, and I'm not. I have no plans of stopping. So that's a huge debate, and I get it. I see both sides. Foursquare Rum, for example, distillery in Barbados, they make exceptionally fine rums, and they swear up and down. They're like the leaders of the crusade against sugar, and that's pretty cool. I mean, it's really cool to fight against these additives and that added sugar that most people don't need in their diet, and their rums are exceptional. I don't love everything they make, but I really enjoy most of the things they make, and it's a very high quality, made with a great attention to detail, and they don't add sugar. Also, their distillery is beautiful, and they recycle their water from the distillery to water the grounds at the distillery. It's a very green, water-saving, thoughtful program they do. I think they even, when in their fermentation process, they actually save the CO2 that's created through fermentation and sell it off, and there's no waste. It doesn't go into the air. So yeah, they do a lot of great things there, and I love them. But yeah, there's these two sides of the coin, the sugar and the no sugar. So I think the important thing to understand for the rum drinking neophyte, the rum drinking newbie, those of you out there who don't know a lot about spirits, let's start at the beginning. Rum has a bad reputation in some circles. Rum is made from sugar. A lot of people think that because of that, or because that they've only been exposed to Captain Morgan or things of that ilk, they think that rum is always sweet, and they think that rum is, I've heard some people say that all rum tastes the same, and I've heard some people say that, oh, rum's too sweet, I don't like that. Well, I got news for you folks. There's a lot of great rums out there that don't exhibit any of those qualities. So yes, rum is made from sugar cane, sometimes starting in the form of molasses, sometimes starting in the form of raw sugar cane, or another product called ron miel, which is basically like sugar cane juice that is cooked down into a syrup. But all of these things come initially from the sugarcane plant, and that's why they can call it rum. And it's not necessarily sweet. There is sugar, maybe not cane sugar, but there's sugar in any alcohol at the base, because that's what the yeast eats to create the alcohol. Distillation, and this may sound like a no-brainer to some of you out there, but some of you need to hear it. Distillation does not create alcohol. Distillation only concentrates alcohol. What creates alcohol is yeast eating sugars, and they excrete CO2, as mentioned earlier, and alcohol. I like to say that they poop alcohol and they fart CO2. As tasty as that sounds. Anyway, so the yeast eats the sugar, and if you let the yeast work for a very long time, or you, in some cases, add more yeast to the process, you will get a very dry product, because all of the sugars have been converted to CO2 and alcohol, and there's some other chemicals created in that process, but for the most part, CO2 and alcohol. And the sugar is gone at that point. It doesn't taste sweet. You still have calories in the alcohol. However, it's not a raw sugar calorie. It's not quite the same. And the sweetness is and can be gone at that point. Now, the opposite is true too. You could stop the fermentation a little bit early. In the case of like port wine, for example, they stop the fermentation by adding alcohol back to it, and that creates an alcohol with a higher sugar content going in. So if you do a very thorough fermentation, you let the yeast work and work and work until the sugar is gone. Different strains of yeast, of course, will survive longer or create more alcohol before they die. That's all like down into the minutia of the details. And also some yeasts will create different flavors and different effects, because there's yeast strains do a lot of different things. So the sugar is eaten, and in the ideal situation, a lot of people would say that the sugar is eaten completely, because you're trying to create alcohol. So the more alcohol you create is the more sugar you destroy. Then you run to the distillation process. You're basically heating it up, vaporizing the alcohol and condensing it back into a liquid, leaving a lot of the water and a lot of the other junk behind, creating a concentrated ethanol product or alcohol product that is going to be that's that rum that you're getting, that's that whiskey or that vodka. The aging process is nice because the aging process does certain things that make the alcohol taste smoother and gives it a little color and gives it some of these nice oaky flavor qualities that's very popular in rum. And that's it. So the idea that rum is necessarily going to be sweet is a false one. There's a lot of people who create a very dry rum and I guess taste it and think, this could use a little sugar to create mass market appeal. In the case of Plantation, they have this philosophy about their aging, and you know what? I don't think it's BS. I think that their products are exceptional and delicious, and I really enjoy them. That being said, there are the crusaders against sugar, and guys, I hear you too. I get it. I really philosophically believe in your cause, and I don't need more sugar in my life. So it's an interesting debate. I think that it's important that we understand the alcohol that we're drinking. If we're going to drink better and we're going to be better drinkers and we're going to be healthier drinkers, we've got to understand the process, and we've got to recognize what we're drinking, and that certain companies, regardless of price or marketing, some companies create a product that is of a higher quality. Some companies create a product that's maybe a healthier quality. It really just depends on what you want. And I'm not going to get into the minutia of the debate or flavored seasoned barrels or sherry finishes or port finishes that add sugar. I don't want to get into that too much, but I will say that it's a moving target out there. There's a different landscape. I love rum. I love rum cocktails. Cocktails, you're going to get more sugar anyway, so I don't know if you're making a cocktail, if the debate about a minute amount of sugar being added is really that important. If you're drinking it straight, well then sure, you can avoid sugar fairly completely, although you're still getting calories from the alcohol, so there's a debate there too. But understand what you're drinking, understand what's going into it, and then if you look at products at the far end of the sugar spectrum, the flavored rums, the flavored vodkas, the things, the Tennessee honey whatevers, the sugar content in a lot of these products is astronomical, and in my mind should really be called a liqueur and not a spirit or a rum or a vodka or a gin. These things should be called liqueurs because the sugar content is comparable to what you would get in a fruity liqueur. So my name's Rom. Trying out this video making thing. I don't know if I post this. If you see it, I posted it. Pretty obvious. And we should all try to drink better. I have a company called Boy Drinks World. The channel's called Boy Drinks World. I make cocktail bitters and extracts. I don't add sugar to any of my products. But I do consume alcohol, and I enjoy alcohol, and in almost all of its forms. and I'd like to help educate people about booze and what you're drinking. My dog's ready to go finish his walk, so I'm gonna stop this video. This is Boy Drinks World, signing off.